fair in town. Always loved the Lindsey look through the years.
So how have you been?
I've been good.
Good.
Digging the music, good stuff.
Good.
Nice to hear.
It's so alive around here. It's like whatever happens, happens.
It's fun, right?
Yeah, it's good.
We won't get too crazy though.
Okay.
An occasional sightseeing bus comes by.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
it's more crowded around here than I would have expected.
That's what we're talking about. It's like, who are all these people?
Yeah, I thought Farmers Market had been eclipsed by, well, I guess the Grove. I mean, it all sort of works together now.
Yeah.
Rick Caruso over there.
Yes. Where would you normally be midday? Are you always creating something?
Well, it depends. If I'm home, midday the kids are at school, so I would be either down in the studio or I might be out for a hike. If you're on the road, you really try to manage your time in a way to conserve your energy for the end of the day. So I might be, just, again, taking a walk around the city or chilling with a movie.
Sure.
Yesterday at this time, my wife and I went out to see Argo. So,
there you go. Keep it up. But you've been on the road a lot lately. I know you're back on the road.
That's right, yeah. I have been on the road. 2012 originally was going to be a Fleetwood Mac year, and then things kind of got juggled a little bit. So I had some free time, and I just thought I would use it in a different kind of way. And I'm always looking for things that are a little bit outside my comfort zone. And, as I've worked over the years as an artist, I've moved more towards the center, which is guitar and voice, and I thought, well, I wonder if I could do just a one-man show. And so I tried to construct that, and, in the middle of rehearsals, I was wondering what I'd gotten myself into, but when I came out the other end, it actually turned out to be a good thing. And so it was actually a growing experience, and I think the crowds are really liking it for its simplicity.
People are digging it, yeah.
Yeah.
Was there an uncomfortable period, though, at the beginning? Where wait, what am I doing?
Not so much on stage. Maybe the physicality of being up there and kind of looking around and seeing no one up there for a night or two. But it was more the challenge of, obviously I can play many songs with just a guitar, but it was constructing the arc of a whole show that wouldn't get boring. So that was the big challenge, and I think we kind of solved that, and it could be a model for the future.
Your fans will never find that boring. This is boring for you as a creative artist, right? You have so many great songs, it'll never be a boring show, no matter what you would do.
Well, one would hope.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're not alone on stage. You're also surrounded by a lot of guitars. This isn't just one guitar.
I have a few guitars, and every once in a while, I'm not trying to fool anybody. I'll pop in a pedal, and a little loop will kick in, so I can play lead against myself, and but very sparingly.
Yeah. So for this new album, though, which is available digitally, this is something very different from you. Make sure I have this correct. This was only recorded a matter of weeks ago, and now it's.
Yes, it was not something that was really in the works going into this. We just thought, well, these shows are going so well, let's see what we can do to document it. And it was done in the rawest way possible. It was just the live mix taken off the board, and we threw a couple of mics up in the room to get some ambience. And we just went for one night, which seemed to be going well from start to finish, and that was it. There was really nothing to do in post, other than maybe to tighten up some of the space between songs, and that was it. There was no mixing to be done. There's nothing to fix. It is what it is, and it really does capture the spirit of what we're doing.
Yeah, but people that know anything about your history and your past at Fleetwood Mac, that's a big deal for you, not to spend months in the studio or years crafting something and tinkering, right?
That's right. That is my first passion is working in the studio, and being that kind of craftsman, that artist who sort of paints colors with sound. And I always considered that to be probably my primary contribution to Fleetwood Mac, was to take not only my own material, but Stevie's and Christine McVie's, and to be able to fashion it into something that was unique sonically. And So of course that continues to be my first passion. But again, as I say, the more I grow as an artist and evolve, the more I move towards the center, which has always been voice and guitar from the time I started playing. And so there's a kind of a circular element to coming back to where you started, and sort of shedding that which is inessential and going for that which is essential.
And also, how much easier is it doing that having new songs? These are songs that a lot of these songs are from the last couple of years. That must make it easier having not just, this isn't an oldies live show by any means.
Right, yeah. I mean, everything, even new songs, old songs, it's all something brand new in terms of how you're presenting it. And, you know, it kind of follows the adage, it's not what you got, but what you do with what you got.
Sure. Yeah. Talk about the place you get to on stage. People are rehearing it on this record, and a lot of people have seen you play live, and you go into a wonderful world or in a world space. People often wonder what's going on, you know, in your head when you're getting, you know, you get pretty dramatic and emotional. It makes for great music. It makes for great shows.
Well, you would be surprised what sometimes goes on. You can be in the middle of a song and be thinking to yourself, I wonder what's going to be on TV later. You know, you can be completely detached, or you can be completely centered in that moment. Right. And I think both those things happen while you're on stage. But clearly, being up there alone, I think it kind of forces you to keep in touch with that point here. Here a little bit, but more here. Your gut and your heart. And keep focused on that, and keep focused on projecting it.
I think especially on a record like this, you've never been afraid to kind of let it all out and kind of have that raw emotion on stage.
No one would ever accuse me of understatement.
Right. But what does that feel like? Is that a release after every show? Is it a release?
Well, yeah. I mean, whether it's Fleetwood Mac, whether it's solo shows with the band that I take out, or whether it's this format. I mean, you know, it's ironic. I would say almost across the board, you feel the best you felt all day when you come on stage.
Yeah.
And that's not only because there's been a certain amount of physicality to what you do. There's also been a certain spirituality. There's been an element of sharing. There's been a rite of passage that's going on. You know?
A lot of these songs are very personal songs, especially in the last couple of records. You deal with family issues and personal things.
Yes.
You've always been, you're never afraid to do that. So
well, we do have a history of laying it out there, don't we? I mean, that was much of the appeal of the Rumors album, was this kind of musical soap opera, bringing out the voyeur in everyone, and I think that's what we know and what we tap into and continue to try to mine, for sure.
How does a record like this kind of change, looking at your whole discography now, having this kind of thing along with the big studio albums? Do you look at your history differently when you have something like this out now?
Well, it's hard to really know. I mean, this is just another element in you know, a body of work, and because it was done in such an offhand and raw manner, it's really hard to know whether it's, you know, what it means at this point. Fleetwood Mac is going out next year, so you know that comes up every 3-4 years. But in the meantime, you know, you get to reinvent yourself in the small scale. You know, one of the things I talked about a lot during this tour and the tour I did last year with my band to promote my last solo album was the big machine, which is Fleetwood Mac, and the small machine, which is the solo work, and how it really is the small scale projects which allow you to keep moving forward and aspiring to be an artist. So, you know, as long as that's the case, you know, I'm quite happy, and it's great. It's really kind of a gift to be able to have both.
Yeah. So does it make next year's tour that much easier?
It does. Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, I've done a lot of solo work in the last 10 years, and every time I go out and do that, it's profound, because in a way that I can bring something new that I've learned about myself back into Fleetwood Mac. So, you know, it keeps me from being stale. I think there's a kind of a tendency with a group like Fleetwood Mac to uphold the brand. Yeah. And sometimes you lose the edge for wanting to keep taking risks. And having the small scale projects not only allows me to keep evolving in that context, but to keep bringing it back to the band.
Yeah. So a year from now, we can be talking about the work of your next solo record. And
Well,
how long is this tour going to last? This may be going on for a while.
It's going to last a while.
Yeah.
I know we got 40 or 50 shows in the States, and then we're talking about other parts of the world. So
big machine.
The big machine.
Yeah. This digital-only release, even a few years ago, this would have been unheard of for any artist.
Right.
But how different is that for you? Just how were you able to wrap your head around just the general concept?
Well, it seemed to be very much in the context of how the organization of this came about. You know, it was not done with any sort of high-minded concept. I didn't go into it thinking that this was going to be a live album. I still have trouble calling it an album. I just think it's a live show that we happen to capture.
Sure.
And so, because it's a bit random, it does, it does make sense to not formalize it to the degree that there might be by putting a physical piece of product out.
Right.
You know.
In the day of bootlegs, where every show would end up out there.
That's right.
Somewhere.
That's right. And there are people who do that. They burn CDs of every show they do and sell it in merchandise. But this was just taking that idea to a different level of refinement. You know, to where you weren't. At least you were showing some element of being discerning about what it was that was going to go out for people to hear.
Yeah. Well, what's it like having fans just really passionate about this and this solo work and seeing you up there on stage? Now that you've gotten over that uncomfortableness yourself and you put yourself out there, it must be nice getting such a fervent reaction to these shows.
Well, it's been really great, and a lot of that is that you're playing for maybe 1,000 people a night instead of whatever Fleetwood Mac would play for. And you connect with the audience in a far more intimate way. And because the music that I do as a solo artist is a little more to the left, is a little more esoteric, it does not reach the broad base of people that a Fleetwood Mac audience would suggest. So, you're going into it playing to the people who have the ears for it. And so they're coming to you with a certain kind of vocabulary that they understand that you have and you understand that they appreciate. And so it makes it a pretty rich experience.
Sure. Lastly, just having not only the skills but even improved on your craft after all these years with the guitar playing, even your vocals sound great. What's it like at this point? How hard work is that to still sound as great as you do both singing and with the guitar?
I mean, it's. I think everyone's different, and I think wherever I have gotten to as an artist at this point, for someone who's been around as long as I have, you really have to put it down to the choices that have been made. And there was a point in time where probably, again, we could have followed the sort of edict that comes down from the corporate mentality, which is if something works, run it into the ground and move on. At which point you start to paint yourself into a corner a little bit. Possibly you may start to forget who you are a little bit and lose touch with the idealism that goes along with why you got into this in the first place. So somehow I was able to undercut that particular trap and make choices that led to, sometimes at the expense of the bigger picture, sometimes at the expense of Fleetwood Mac. In the long run, I think to the benefit of Fleetwood Mac, but I just think that, I've gotten to this place where the preconceptions that go along with someone who is has been doing it as long as I have, they don't really follow, and so, it's all up here.
Yeah.
It's all a mental thing. So I feel the same way I did when I was 30. And there's no one or nothing that can tell you that you can't keep improving. There is a kind of a stereotype about rock and rollers that, you get to be 40 years old and it's all downhill from there. Well, I reject that. And I think, in the same way Picasso could paint some of his masterpieces in his 60s or 70s, there's nothing that says you can't do that with music as well.
The very best only get better, I think. Yeah.
I would hope, yes.
Yeah.
We are looking at it that way, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And lastly, also, I've been lucky enough to be at your house, and I've seen your jukebox, and I see the kind of cool music you listen to.
Right.
What current stuff are you digging these days? I mean, you're part of the digital scene and all that.
Yeah, it does get hard. I mean, a lot of times I have to go to satellite, really, and listen to alternative or, but I still like. I mean, I love Phoenix. I love Arcade Fire. I love Grizzly Bear.
Right.
I love Vampire Weekend.
I know all these bands look to you as an inspiration. So
well, I'm not sure. I hope that we've done something right to help these people get an idea of what it's all about. And there is really a lot of very smart music out there.
Yeah.
It's a little not always easy to find. But when a group like Arcade Fire can break through, or Phoenix, and do what they've done, I mean, that gives you a lot of encouragement that many things are still possible.
Yeah, very good. All right.
All right, pleasure.
Real pleasure
Nice
talking
to see you again.
See you too.
All right.
Let's do a little thing into camera real quick with you, Lindsey. Yeah, that's right, Mario. I'm thrilled to be here with the one and only Lindsey Buckingham. One more. That's right. I'm thrilled to be here with the one and only Lindsey Buckingham.
One more for audio.
All right, cool.
We're good?
We're good.
All right.
Real pleasure.
Oh.